Welcome to this edition of Believers Talk with Joe and Steve. We are your hosts. I'm Joe.
I'm Steve.
And we are here to talk about more Bills free agent signings, right? So we're very excited to get some more free agents in, and we're here to talk to you about those. Not the big names, not big deals like Adrian McCarron or anything like that, but still, we want to keep you up to date. So, Steve, if you want to start us off here?
Yeah, the first wave of free agency is basically over. That's the big names within the first 2 days or so. So now you get to kind of the core of the team, the core signings here that don't really matter too much, but in this case it kind of does because we had so much holes that we need to fill.
Absolutely.
So the Bills went out and they signed center Russell Bodine, formerly of the Bengals.
Okay.
So him and AJ McCarron have a little chemistry, maybe. Nice, maybe they work together a little bit there.
Right.
Also signed tackle Marshall Newhouse from the Raiders, who was just released this offseason. And then we re-signed our linebacker, Roman Humper, who was our starting weak side linebacker until Milano came in and filled that void. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it's good to see that we re-signed a linebacker. We know that with Preston Brown leaving, that kind of does leave that void. We talked about in an earlier episode with Vallejo being there, and we'll talk more about the linebackers we have on roster right now. But yeah, it's kind of nice to have that Humper re-signing, so we have a little, if nothing else, at least depth behind Milano.
Yeah. So. Okay. So yeah, we re-signed Humper. It was a 1-year vet deal, so it's like $1 million contract, but it only counts for like $670,000.
Right, which is also nice.
So that helps us with the cap situation. Really doesn't eat money, and when you get to these smaller deals, you're really just bumping another player down that has a smaller deal, so it doesn't eat up the cap as much, and that's what I was kind of talking to a little earlier there. But as far as the linebackers, our strong side linebacker will be Lorenzo Alexander. He started there last year, so he'll most likely be our starter this year unless something happens. Humper, we have him. He's going to be weak side, maybe middle linebacker now, with Milano the starting weak side linebacker. We have Dion Lacey, Julian Stanford, and Xavier Wilson Luster. Those guys are all going to be backup depth guys and special team guys, and that's where Lacey, Humper, I think, led the team in special teams tackles. I think he was tied with Alexander with 10. And Julian Stafford, they brought him in this year, and it's going to be mostly a special teams guy. And then as far as the rest of our linebackers, it'd be Tanner Vallejo. He'd be our middle linebacker as of now. So that's what our linebacker situation looks like. A lot of depth, a lot of special teams guys. Hopefully they can gel together if we don't make any more moves, and we'll see where it goes. The only standout I think we really have is Milano. Right.
Yeah. The names don't sound that great, but I mean, if you were following along in free agency, one of the things that they were saying about Preston Brown is he was more of a due to the scheme, he was that good. So maybe it's a scheme thing, and if it is a scheme thing, then these guys can definitely fill that role as well.
I think we might have some more athletic. Now, Humper's not very good in coverage. That's why Milano took over for him. But with Vallejo in there, maybe we're more athletic at the middle linebacker position. That's one thing that the knock on Preston Brown was got lost in coverage a little bit, on some play action. He was more of a run thumper, wanted to get up at the line of scrimmage. So we'll see how Vallejo has developed over last year and going into this year, and if we need to make another move there, or if we're fine with him.
But. I mean, even going off what Preston Brown signed for, it was kind of shocking that we didn't try to give a little more money towards him, but maybe we did. We did report that he did turn down other teams who offered more money. But also, you have to think maybe they see McDermott sees Vallejo as a guy who can step in and be that role guy and not get lost so easily in coverage, because like you've mentioned before, McDermott's more of a 2 linebacker type guy. So get a lot of linebackers in there, get some depth. We don't need the star big name if we can have that depth in there. So.
And especially if they're more athletic, you can do a little more with them. They're more versatile, and that's something that we'll talk about just about with every free agent and with every player. They like to have versatility, be able to play a couple different positions. So that's something to look forward to as far as the linebacker core.
But so those are our linebackers currently on the roster. And as Steve said earlier, we did sign 2 offensive linemen, so we can talk about them a little bit if you'd like.
Russell Bodine, formerly of the Bengals. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2014. He's signed a 2-year, $5 million contract with us.
Okay.
So it looks like he's going to be at least battling for the starting position at center.
Right.
He has started every game since he's been in the league, so he's durable.
Right.
There's been mixed reviews on him, whether people like him or not. For us, this is a nice depth signing, and going into next year, we only have, now that we traded Cordy Glenn, we only have Connor McDermott and Deion Dawkins under contract as far as our lineman for next year. So you're seeing all this rebuild on defense.
Right.
Next year is going to be on the offensive line.
Yeah.
So just to give you a heads up on that. But Bodine will be under contract for 2 years now.
Yeah.
It's not a massive deal for him. He did have another offer from Cincinnati.
Okay.
It was a long-term deal, but the guarantees were lower.
Okay.
So he took the Bills, to get the more guaranteed money.
And you're betting yourself a little bit there, if he does well in these next 2 years. Even if he does well next year, with our cap situation going into the following year, we can restructure at that point
and we can extend him.
Right. So that works
it's
out
a bonus for him. The other thing too is now with Bodine coming in, he's going to compete with Ryan
Groy.
Ryan Groy. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
But so let's say Bodine does win the competition.
Yeah.
Then you can put Groy. He's going to be our backup center / guard.
Right.
Or he can just start at guard or something like that, depending on what other moves they want to make.
Yeah.
But at least then we still have that flex guy.
Right.
So or if Groy does start at center, maybe Bodine, if something happens to one of our guards, maybe Bodine comes in and fills in at center.
Yeah.
And then Groy would move to guard. So
yeah.
Ryan Groy is a big part of what this upcoming season, because he can either be our starting center or he's going to be that inside swing guy to play either guard or center position.
Yeah, when you're talking offensive linemen, I mean, we've seen numerous times where someone goes out and you're like, oh, you only have like 2 tackles left on the roster or something like that. So having a guy like Groy there really helps out because he is versatile. He can play multiple positions. Even if he's a depth chart guy, it's good to have that on there. So.
And, you usually keep one of those guys. You keep a swing tackle, which we'll talk about here in a second, and you keep that inside guy that can play either guard or center.
Yeah.
And then you have your starting 5 offensive linemen. Right. Those are the only 7 guys active on with the active day roster, so
it helps out.
Yeah.
Moving on to our swing tackle, we got signed Marshall Newhouse. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yep. He only signed a 1-year deal, so he's going to have to prove to stick on the roster if he does pass this year. He was a 5th-round draft pick in 2010 out of Green Bay. So the Packers had him, and that's where I remember him the most playing.
Right.
This would be his 5th team. He's bounced around a little bit, so he went from the Packers to the Bengals to the Giants. Was with the Raiders last year, released this offseason earlier, and he's now with the Bills. He went to TCU, so he's familiar with Jerry Hughes.
Sure, Jerry.
They were together all 4 years there.
Okay.
He's another guy that he's going to battle with Jordan Mills, I believe, as a right tackle.
Yeah.
And whoever loses out that battle will most likely be our swing tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes the most sense. I heard you say he played for the Bengals. Was he there when AJ McCarron was there as well, or?
I believe so.
Okay, so maybe there's
that might have been at that probably was at AJ's rookie year.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So there might be a little familiarity there as well. Who knows? But yeah. So that's basically the signings we had today, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess those were yesterday. But
Newhouse and Bodine was last night, and then. Well, actually, that was last evening, around dinner time, and then it broke that Humper was last night, early this morning.
Okay. So the ink is still fresh on the paper. So so we're not sure about salary implications for all of it yet. Like we're not sure about guarantees or anything like that, as far as I know.
I believe the Humper one is around $60,000. He got it to signing.
Right.
He does have another workout bonus that might be $90,000. So there's not much guarantee for him.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with all the linebackers. They're all depth and special teams guys. If we can get a big name via the draft or trade or something like that, a lot of those guys are expendable. It's not much dead money.
Yeah.
And that's something we're kind of looking for. And like I said, his was just a vet minimum contract, so it helps the Bills financially. The Bodine contract is a 2-year, $5 million contract, so you split that up. It's $2.5 million. Not sure what the signing bonus is or anything like that, but that's what you're kind of roughly looking for him. And the new house wasn't released yet, just a 1-year deal. But I can
It's not
bet
gonna be,
it's probably going to be a vet minimum, and
Right.
that's the signings that we're going to do right now.
Right, exactly, yeah. And yeah, Bean said that, like, we have no more big signings coming up. It's going to be a lot of vet minimums and things like that we're going to do, which is fine. I mean, these depth things matter just as much.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have to have players to come in and fill in, and
right.
You know, with the Bodine and Groy, competition's always better than not having anything, just giving the guy a job. So
exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's it for the signings, recent signings. Like we always say, we are going to be here for you, whether they're big or small signings. It doesn't matter. We'll let you know. So if you're a Bills fan, you enjoy this content, please let us know. Like or dislike this video. Comment below, and we'll happily get back to you. And subscribe to this channel. Our next video will be, we got a lot of questions about what we think the Bills are going to do in the draft. Now the Jets moved up to 3. What do we see the Bills doing with that now on the table? We'll talk about that a little bit. And so we'll see you next time. Until then,
go Bills.
Go Bills.